Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of QuickMail.io.
And this is Jack from emailsthatsell.com.
In this episode, I'll share with you the principles behind a campaign that's been working exceptionally well this month with QuickMail. For obvious reason, I won't go into the specifics of the email, but there are nonetheless some good takeaways in this cast. You'll learn how one simple change in the offer allows you to break the rules and still achieve more than 60% reply rate, what it means to have more than 100% adjusted reply rate, and the power of combining multiple weapons of influence together. Enjoy.
All right, so today we've got an exciting episode coming at you. And this is a bit of a late night episode for me and an early morning episode for Jeremy, thanks to the wonder of time zones.
Damn right.
Yeah. So excuse our raspy voices, but it's well worth it. Jeremy has taken a look at QuickMail and found a couple of the best performers this month. And though the email copy is secret and safe, we do want to share a few inspirations from some really good cold emails sent from some QuickMail users.
Yeah, that's right. From time to time, I look at what's working, and sometimes I come across helping a user and then obviously coming across some sequences and looking at what's working, what's not working to help them out. And I found a couple of really interesting ones this month, and I just wanted to discuss it with Jack and just say like, hey, let's jump on and do an episode about this.
Yeah, that's perfect. So I am definitely excited to find out what's working right now, and it's getting me excited even at 1:16 a.m. So let's dive into it while I've got a second wind here.
Yeah, it's 7 a.m. For me, and waking up was pretty hard, but who cares? Anyway, let's go down to the meat.
Just a side note, for those who don't know, Jeremy's not a coffee drinker, so I don't know how he's doing this, but yeah, let's go.
So the first one I'd like to talk about is let's call it the in-person service. So the type of email is, I'm contacting you in a certain city as a business, and I have a product or a service actually that I can offer you physically. And the email doesn't have any name personalization, but it has some business personalization as to the type of business that you're in. And the email is just saying like, hey, I'm going to be in this town offering the services that require a certain type of equipment that you can't go ahead and then buy yourself. And so the prospect is just, looking at this and basically thinking about, oh, this is not something I can go and buy myself very easily. That person is here. So it's really built on a sort of like opportunistic thing that is purely due to the physical place of the offer.
Interesting. So it would be like, I don't know, this is just an example pulled from the air. If I was approaching venues with lighting equipment, for example, that they could borrow.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that, something physical, something they can't go ahead and then buy themselves very easily. And it wouldn't actually really make sense to incur the cost for them for a one-off thing.
So what is the angle taken to get someone interested in this physical product for businesses?
Yeah, there's a couple of other things that are interesting too, I can say. One of the things that is building also on the fact that this person has some authority. So he's got like trusted by a really big brand that a lot of people know. Imagine it's Yelp. Okay, I'm going to take the example of Yelp. It's not Yelp, but that's an example. Let's say I'm a certified Yelp, whatever.
Okay.
And then, I just display the Yelp logo and that gives me like extra credibility. So that's one of the other elements.
Okay, cool. So they're using a weapon of influence, social proof. Got it.
And the other interesting thing is they got multiple A/B testing variations. And I'm going to tell you for the first touch, the actual results that they managed to put off. The first one is 65% on the first
reply rate for just one email to the prospects.
Yeah.
Wow.
The funny thing, actually, this is an interesting thing, is the adjusted reply rate is actually more than 100%. Now, guys, for those who don't know what the actual reply rate, the adjusted reply rate is, it's basically the number of reply based on only the people who open the email.
Right.
And of course, this is not an actual science, so you could effectively open the email without anyone knowing it. So to show you how well this is received, he's got 150% reply rate.
Many people have opened this more than one time, Jeremy?
Oh, no, not at all. It means that some people you can't detect opening the email actually do reply.
Wow. That's impressive. So it works.
Yeah, okay. The other variations not working as well, 54%, and another one, 65 as well. And one more thing that I want to add to this is they also add a showcase to the email, which basically say, this is the example that I've done in other cities.
Ah, okay. Interesting. So it basically, let's go back to the lighting equipment example. You can say, hey, here's a photo of one of the shows that a venue was able to put on using these lights, for example, like an actual picture.
Yeah, something like that. Absolutely. Yeah.
So a quick recap here. There's a bit of a scarcity element involved because they're in a particular city with special equipment that won't be there forever. My guess, that's probably the most powerful thing going for this campaign. Maybe not, but I definitely like the idea that something good is in town. Next, you talked about the social proof. They're name dropping some good companies that are backing them. And you've also got...
The company are not really backing them. They just provide him with a certification.
Ah, interesting. So it's not even, this is our top pick for service providers. It's just certified by.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. And then, of course, you said they have an example. So did they just embed a photo, Jeremy?
No, a link. Oh, let me check actually if there is some... Oh, that's interesting. The actual percentage on click rate is actually pretty poor. This is really interesting. The email actually having 65% reply rate has 2% click rate. And the one that has 54, so less reply, has 13% click rate.
Ah, interesting. So maybe it's not the link that is driving the replies. Just out of curiosity, is the link to some kind of a portfolio page where they can see examples?
Yeah, exactly.
My takeaway from this is if there's a chance that you're going to be able to do business in a particular city, maybe you're rolling out a city-based campaign, that's generally a good idea if you have something to offer a specific location. In my opinion, this is just another way that you can get specific on a group of prospects. And of course, adding in credibility, social proof, and maybe even examples certainly doesn't hurt.
Yeah, and in fact, all the sequence that are there are actually city-based. And what's interesting is you can see, depending on what city, which one are actually replying better than others. But most of all, I think the lowest city is 55% and the highest one is 91%.
Wow, that's amazing.
The funny thing is that the cities that are actually performing super well are the ones that are the most tech savvy. So understanding better the value proposition of the offer.
For those of you listening who may be thinking, hey, this is good for that company, but I don't have a city-based product that I can offer, just take a moment and understand that since this account has different campaigns targeting multiple cities, it's possible that they could have been sitting there saying, well, any business around Europe or North America could benefit from this, so I'll just roll out a sort of a nationwide campaign. But instead, they took a smaller approach and went city by city. So there's always ways that you can put on the brakes, tackle a smaller group of your segments one at a time, so it's a little bit harder to resist. And more often than not, if you're going to be traveling with work, whether that's through a conference or other networking or any reason that you'll be in another city, you can borrow this exact sort of approach and reach out to businesses where you're going.
So let's say for me, I have my SaaS business. Imagine I want to use this approach as a test. I could definitely be saying like, I'm going to travel to this city. I'm doing a one-off cold email workshop. here is an example of what companies been able to achieve after attending my workshop. And would I be certified? What big name could I use? Like,
maybe these big companies have used the stuff I taught in my workshops. Or I gave a lecture at Y Combinator.
oh yeah, exactly those things. Yes, exactly.
This reminds me, it's similar to what we did when we went to Tokyo. We basically put together a quick campaign to land some meetings to talk about cold email. And we just used the fact that we were going to be in the city for a short amount of time. And I think that helped us secure some meetings relatively quickly, just because we were there, not forever, but coming to their actual city helped.
Another super interesting point is that I think that adds to the sense of scarcity and time pressure. They actually do put their pricing inside. So in the example of me and the workshop, it'd be like, here's how much it costs to attend to the workshop, and here's how much it will cost if you add more than one person, for example, those sort of things. The offer is like complete in the email as well.
Oh, interesting. So there's a good chance the replies that they're getting, if they're positive, they know what they're getting into and they're likely ready to sign up.
Yeah, it's that big buy now button we keep on saying you shouldn't use.
Wow. Right. Now that's interesting. So here's an example with First Touch email that's mentioning price, that's getting over a 60% reply rate. So definitely a fresh approach to cold email that's working right now that I don't think we've covered before in the cast.
The other thing that is super interesting is that they do benefit from following up. They do have a follow-up, which is almost like a typical bump email. So it's just a one-liner to just recap all the details. And they have around 50% reply rate. And again, it's 136%
Amazing.
adjusted reply rate.
There's someone who's doing something right with cold email for sure. Okay, so it's a pretty straightforward follow-up email. Any fresh approach there, or just that's them staying on top of the prospects?
No, that's just staying on top of the prospect. The call to action is like super short. So it's a one-liner resuming the offer, a call to action, super simple, the signature. In the signature, by the way, there is the link to the portfolio. So it's in both places. It was in the content of the email on the first touch, but it was also in the signature. So here it's again on signature with the logo on the signature again.
So even a simple follow-up here, if it's sent to the right group and you're sort of recapping the right message, it can definitely work quite well.
Yeah, there is a date that, obviously adds some pressure.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if there is a lot of negative reply at this stage, like, oh, really, thanks for the offer, but no, we're not going to be in. But still, nonetheless, a stated no is better than no answer. So
they're delivering well, they're getting the message across, and people are engaged. So they're doing a lot of things right. And anything else with this sequence, Jeremy?
They actually have a second follow-up. The second follow-up is more for like an annoying bump kind of email, like, hey, didn't hear about you kind of thing.
Right.
But that one still got 54% reply rate.
Wow.
And 166% adjusted reply rate.
166. Wow.
Which isn't necessarily surprising in the sense that they got only 38%, open rate. So
yeah, but still, that's
so a lot of people who don't, download the email, the pixel
right
tracker actually do reply. So I'm not even sure I'll be able to do such a good job if I even was a client, of those businesses.
Right. That reminds me, before we pressed record, you had mentioned you had a second sequence that caught your eye this month, and it wasn't necessarily the typical cold email. It was, who was it sent to?
No, that's right. That one was surprising to me in a few sense. It wasn't at all cold email, and yet it reached 92% reply rate and 140% adjusted reply rate.
Wow.
So again, it shows that a lot of people don't have image enabled on their clients.
Okay, yeah.
But that one is definitely not a cold email, and it's a one-step sequence, so just a one-shot email. But they're not cold. it's actually a Kickstarter campaign, but it's not in that sense. It's actually the results of a Kickstarter campaign. Like, here is your link or your secret key to your thing. Now, what's interesting is that there is no call to action. It's just like, here's your login, here's your password code, because they're using a custom attribute to actually generate that. And yet they got replies, which is probably like, hey, it's not working. I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so I always love to hear not so obvious use cases for not cold email per se, but an email software that is meant to get replies. Now, I want to know, do you think they were wise in sending this kind of message with a cold email software, Jeremy? What do you think?
Oh, shit, yes, I do that all the time, actually. I mean, I got a group of founders that I recontact every month in Zurich, just to let them know, like, hey, the next dinner is going to be at that time. Are you in? I'm not writing that by hand.
Yeah.
And I got like 100% reply rate or close to that, because I simply just tell them, like, hey, here's the date. Are you in or not? And I'm not doing that by hand. That's for sure.
So it sounds like if you've got, maybe it's a customer base or an active subscriber list, if you want to get some replies with them, you'd be wasting your time trying to send with MailChimp or GetResponse or Drip.
Well, you could, but really those things don't really come from your mailbox, so it kind of looks odd. Actually, that was funny, because during one of our dinner, I actually told someone that I'm using my software to send automatically. And he was like shocked. He said, I thought you send them emails, yourself. And now I'm actually replying to a bot.
How dare you?
And then I actually created like a special custom attribute for him. I always have a PS custom attribute that I put in my email. So if I add something to this person, then it will show as a PS. And then in the custom attribute, I say, yes, this is my software sending it. I still want a reply from you.
You could look at it a few different ways, but I see it as you've got automation helping you get the message out, but it's still Jeremy behind the keyboard. And, you can throw in those custom attributes to make it nice and save yourself a lot of time.
It's even my software sending it. What is he complaining about?
Exactly. Yeah. One touch, a quick email, no call to action, but what was the reply rate on that?
92%.
92%. That's amazing. So another thing I'm picking up here is like, these are, I don't want to call them exceptions, but they are going against some of the traditional cold email rules. Have a call to action. Don't mention price in the first touch, but it's still working. So my end of the podcast takeaway is keep testing, right? I mean, we've got some ground rules that we've seen work, some principles that you should never ignore. But at the end of the day, it's still worth trying new things with your list.
Yeah, some of them just don't apply because they are just not called prospects. So obviously you can change the rule when you're contacting people or know about you.
Yep. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying test a cold email with no call to action. I'm more saying, like, in general terms,
have a nice day.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
So I'm going to sort of take this as keep testing wildly different variations, even if Jack and Jeremy haven't said, go try this right now. There could be a big winner that you may not have considered yet.
All right. I'll let you go to bed.
Okay, Jeremy, I hope we can have some more best of the month type episodes in the future, and we'll keep it rolling.
Sure, you bet.
All right, let's recap what we learned from cold emails working this month. Number 1, segmenting your list by location can work wonders on your reply rate. So if you're traveling for business, reach out ahead of time to pick up extra meetings during your trip. Number 2, cold email software isn't just for prospects. Use it to send messages to customers, subscribers, or old leads, especially if you're looking to get quick replies from people you know. And finally, number 3, never stop testing. Even the most uncommon approaches, like adding price in a first touch, could help you drastically lift your reply rates.
Hey, cold emailer.
Yeah, you.
If you got some value from this episode, give us a high five by sharing a 2-sentence review on iTunes.
Or Stitcher or TuneIn. That works too.
It's a quick way to help other growth-minded folks like us find this podcast
so they can send awesome emails
and make everyone's inbox a better place. Thanks.